Good morning. Earlier this week, Wendy and I received a request to support a charitable event, a charitable effort. Because it came from a trusted source, clergy, and because it was the sort of request that we would usually support, the online back and forth continued. But the tone grew suspicious. This was an imposter. And the bluff was called, assuredly, pointedly. We do need to keep on our toes, don't we? To stay tuned in, to stay focused, to strengthen our listening ears and trust our well-formed instincts. The same goes for our faith lives. But how can we know that it is the voice of God that we're hearing? And what context might we use to reach Jesus, to praise him, to appreciate him, or seek his help? Anyone know his cell phone number? Is he on Twitter? Meta? Facebook? Instagram? Insta? Elijah the prophet felt challenged to hear the true voice of God like we do. While on the journey, he finally arrived at the mountain of God, and to protect himself from a threatening storm, he found a shelter in a nearby cave. The Lord said to Elijah, "Go outside. Stand before the Lord on the mountain. The Lord will be passing by." There was a strong and heavy wind, but the Lord was not in the wind. There was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. There was a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. But after the fire, there was a whispering sound. Was this the voice of God? Elijah hid his face within his cloak, remaining at the entrance of the cave where he could be ready to hear the voice of God. I think Elijah was listening for that still small voice. How do we know that we are hearing the voice of God? Have you been hearing that same whispering voice? Then Peter and the disciples, confined to a fishing boat, see Jesus walking on the water towards them. It was a stormy sea, and they trembled with fear. Were they seeing a ghost? And we can really understand their fear. We too feel lonely at times, alone in our desperate uncertainty. But Jesus draws ever nearer to us, crossing the troubled waters to be with us. We're never alone. The story continues. Jesus comforts his disciples in the boat on the sea by assuring them to take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. But Peter, the rock, challenges Jesus. If it is you, command me to come to you on the water. Jesus encourages him. Come. But Peter, seeing how threatening the wind and waves had become, grew more frightened, and he began to sink. Taking his eyes off of Jesus, Peter began to sink. What is it that steers our lives away from seeing Jesus? The wind? The waves? The state of our world? Can we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus? The story continues. Peter simply cannot save himself. He cries out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reaches out to save Peter from disaster, asking, "Why did you doubt, O ye of little faith?" At this, the disciples cry out, "Truly, you are the Son of God." This is not only Peter's story, it is our story too. The story of a growing faith. Jesus calls out to us to journey with him in difficult times, to be with us and save us when we feel overwhelmed. And in this world where we often do not value the poor, the immigrant, the widow, the needy children, we can trust that Jesus will redeem us, redeem the ways of the world. So be listening for that still small voice. For some, it may even be in the form of a nudge to formalize a calling, a thirst to seek God in the Catholic faith. Remember St. Francis of Assisi, who assures us a single sunbeam can be enough to drive away the shadows. So whatever your need, whatever our need, may our focused listening lead to hearing the voice of God. May we not be afraid in uncertain times. God is with us. May we keep our eyes fixed firmly on Jesus, who saves us from our unbelief. And may Peter's great prayer, his great prayer of faith, be our prayer too. Lord, save me.